exhibitions here at MoCA CT. Welcome to On Fire Energy Climate Infrastructure, curated by Ive Covaci and Boberski. They're both co-chairs of the Westport Public Art Collections. For those who may not be familiar with the Westport Public Art Collections, also known as WestPAC, would the both of you give some explanation, brief history about what WestPAC is, what it does?
The Westport Public Art Collections is a collection of over 2,000 works of art in a wide range of media, including paintings, works on paper, textiles, and sculptures. The collections really began in the early part of the 20th century. Many artists settled here during the first half of the 20th century, producing the many ads, illustrations, and cartoons which appeared in print media, in newspapers and magazines. Many artists, however, faced unemployment during the 1930s, and 16 artists were able to receive federally funded commissions for public artworks in Westport. This exhibition centers on one of those artworks, the Ralph Boyer's large 8-panel mural titled Evolution of Heat. This was created for the Public Works of Art project in 1934. Following the Works Progress Administration, the collections continued to grow throughout the 1960s as Bert Chernow founded the Westport Art Collections. So today we refer to the Westport Public Art Collections as a collection which comprises the schools collection, the towns collection, and the Works Progress Administration collections. Westport Public Art Collections are formed through donations and gifts from artists and their estates, and also collectors and benefactors. The collections are displayed throughout our schools and public buildings, and we are honored to partner with MoCA CT for this exhibition.
If the both of you wouldn't mind explaining to me and the viewing public, how did you go about researching the artworks for On Fire?
Over 75 works and nearly as many artists represented in both parts of the show, the On Fire and the Ford Times section. It was a huge undertaking and a real team effort. Many of the artists are well known, so we have the artists' websites, their galleries, books, and catalogs to consult. But we learn something new about every work every year through this process. For example, the seawall painting by Theodorus Stamus, one of the jewels of the collection. Many books have been published about him. I read articles about his 1940s biomorphic series, of which this is one. But I learned, for example, that the artist had a large collection of specimens collected from the seashore. He would go down to the seashore and collect shells and sea creatures and had these in his studio. I think you can see kind of reflections of that in this painting. Our records have been compiled over the decades that the collections have been part of Westport. So we have a database with biographical information on many of the less well-known artists as well. But an exhibition like this is a real opportunity to expand our knowledge of those collections and to add to our research. So another example is the print Swamp Fire by Mary Tyler. We didn't know anything about this artist. We didn't even know her dates, nothing about the subject. Town curator Kathy Benowitz, who's really good at this type of research, dug up her obituary, found out that she was a member of the Silvermine Guild, elected in 1967, and was educated at the Pratt Institute. We also dug into the subject, so I didn't know what a swamp fire was before this, but I found a documentary from the national parks and learned about how these fires can burn in wet places underground because of the abundance of peat. And they're really hard to control, but they're also sometimes necessary for the regrowth of that ecosystem. So really took a deep dive into most of the works in here.
Developing this exhibition has been really exciting because of the space gives us an opportunity to showcase a collection within the collections. In this case, the collection of original paintings which were commissioned as illustrations for Ford Motor Company's magazine, Ford Time. All of these works were produced by American artists during the 1950s and 60s. They came into the Westport Public Art Collections as a gift in 1966 from the Ford Times Art Library, and we're delighted to be able to showcase this selection of works as part of this exhibition.
So I want to ask about this lovely book here. The both of you have decided to include questions for visitors to interact with in this exhibit. And so I want to ask what prompted you to include this element in the exhibition. And as you can see, we already have a few answers from the visitors who have seen this exhibition the past week.
Great, I'm glad to see them. people are writing in the book. So with a topic like this, we wanted the exhibition to extend beyond the gallery walls, to give viewers something to relate to and to think about, and to encourage dialogue and even action right around the topic of climate change. I often read interpretive labels in museums and learn a ton, but unless I have someone there to talk with, it becomes kind of a one-way street. So I was inspired by the thought questions that teachers use to encourage reflection and deeper engagement in the classroom. And our committee members and team helped brainstorm the questions that are on the labels throughout both the On Fire section and the 4 times. We hope people will reflect on these and give us some comments and some thoughts in the guest book. And we do have, as part of the programming, a community conversation on February 27th when we'll have a panel of guests. And so hopefully we can integrate some of these comments in that. And specifically for the 4 times section, just to add on, because those works are from the 50s and into the 60s, the questions that are on those labels really try to connect those works and the themes to the present and to our community as well.
That's right. Did you want to look through it and read a few of the comments left behind?
We have one comment, very, very interesting. Bravo to Westport for having such an incredible collection, and to MoCA for showing it. This is a great exhibit. Scary how timely it is with California work. The students' artwork is fantastic.
And a few comments from younger visitors too.
Oh.
My daughter loved the first and last rooms.
Oh. Which means both galleries.
And here's a thank you from a 3-year-old.
Oh, that is so sweet. Oh, wow. Well, we love when visitors have great experiences with the exhibitions, and this is one of them. It's both educational and conversational because it sparks so many important conversations, especially with most recent events that has been happening. This leads me to my next question, which is, with the recent devastation fires in Los Angeles, how do you see the role of exhibitions like this one in raising awareness and prompting action regarding climate change and environmental issues?
Sure, yeah, it's just been devastating as we open this exhibition over the past week in the midst of the fires in Los Angeles. And I was thinking about MoCA's really thoughtful statement that we put out around the fires, encouraging folks to help out in whatever ways they can. But there is also a part in the statement about how art can help us understand and process these challenges. Not just the events that are going on right now, but the broader issues of climate change and its effects. So how does art serve this function? I think art helps us to stop and look and think. It's easy on our devices these days to scroll past the devastating headlines that just kind of seem to keep coming, but when you intentionally come to a museum, to an exhibition like this, there's an openness to experience something, to think about something, and to learn something, and then to take action in your own life. So there's been a lot of talk lately also about art and empathy, and I think that sense of empathy is at the heart of awareness and of action. So art fosters those connections and encourages us to connect with the artist's viewpoint, or with the mood of a work, or with the subject that's depicted. With something bigger than ourselves, right? With the environment around us, with the people around us. So maybe you recognize the scene in a painting, like the painting of Gorham Island by a poet, or the beautiful scene of the Norwalk River by Peter Michael Gish, or Molloy's Blue Skies over Kikini Island. Maybe you can identify with the really kind of apocalyptic mood of Secunda's encounter, or as today, the forest fire in Boyer's panels. So I think it encourages that experience of connection and reflection, and then taking that out into your own life.
What message do you hope visitors take away from this exhibition, especially in light of current climate crisis? And how do you envision On Fire contributing to the community's understanding and engagement with these issues?
So I think the exhibition really raises more questions than it answers, and I think that can be productive. If it gets visitors to look at the climate crisis, say, from a new vantage point. And so with the subtitle Energy, Climate, Infrastructure, I hope through specific works of art in the exhibition, or pairings or conversations, people can consider the interrelationships between those three broad areas, through in a visual way, right? To think about how we see these things and then how they relate to these broad qualities.
The Evolution of Heat series by Ralph Boyer really challenges us to think about how artists envision the past, present, and future of our relationship with fire. In all of these scenes, humans are in control of fire. We see the wood-burning torch handed down from Prometheus. We see the cook fire in the lower left. We even see the coal-burning steam locomotive. And finally, the petroleum-burning airplane, automobile, and electrical generators. What would the next panel of the Evolution of Heat series feature? Renewable sources like solar, wind, hydro, or geothermal energy? Or have we lost control of fire?
I should say the show is also full of local scenes of bridges and rivers and roads in our own community. And we don't think much about infrastructure until it fails us, right? So until a bridge is struck and burns, like happened on 95 in Norwalk just last year, or when amazing feats of engineering happens, like the 12 hours that I-95 was shut down to replace the bridge last year. And we have generously lent by N.W. Gibbon, a former Westport Fire Marshal and fine photographic artist, his tintype photographs of that process. So we can look at that, together with the building of the thruway in the beginning, and really relate those works to our own community. How would we like to see it develop in the future? What things are important to preserve? What things should we work to change?
I agree, especially when it comes to air pollution with the amount of traffic that we've been having lately and what that would look like and how we would want that to change in the future. So I think it's a good topic and raises really important questions for people, especially future engineers. Can you point to any specific pieces that particularly resonate with current debates around sustainability?
To bring this question to one of the works in the Four Times section of the exhibition, we feature Exhibition Mine, Pocahontas, Virginia by Charlie Harper. Coal was one of our first alternative energies. This was to wood and a decreasing amount of wood that was available. It's important to think about that history when you look at this painting. It shows the coal fields beneath the Appalachian Mountains, which powered America's Industrial Revolution in the 19th century and fueled America throughout 2 world wars. That coal heated homes across the country for nearly 8 decades. The Pocahontas coal field of Southwest Virginia employed 25,000 men at 82 operations until the last mine closed in the 1950s. This painting shows the building, which was the fan house for the coal mine, which was exhausted as of 1938 and reopened as a tourist.
That's a great example, because thinking about how we repurpose sites that are no longer in their original use. We also have lent by N.W. Gibbons a photograph of the Bridgeport Harbor Station. Now, we all know this place. We drive by it, sometimes many times a day. But I actually didn't know that the coal-fired part of this has been decommissioned. It's now under redevelopment by the city of Bridgeport, incorporating, environmental cleanup and rethinking that area of the waterfront and envisioning a real, sustainable future for this site. So after spending so much time with Gibbons's photo for this exhibition, when I drive by, I now see this area in a new light, and it makes me wonder and imagine the possibilities, and I'm now kind of invested in it. Art is powerful in that way. The many scenes of rivers, local rivers in this show. I'm thinking about the Aspetuck and the Saugatuck, drawn by Ralph Boyer, showing a different side to this artist, his close observation of nature in a sort of intimate format. But, we think about what dams on these rivers are we going to preserve, and which ones are we going to remove to allow fish to migrate upstream. We think about, what are we putting into these rivers? How do we balance commercial development, social issues, economic prosperity with preserving the environment right here in our hometown? So I think these works allow us to reflect on those very local debates as well. And then in the art realm, right, we have Earth One by Sherry Smith Bell, where she takes a digital photograph taken from space and then uses the energy of the sun itself, an alternative. She uses solar etching, an alternative to kind of more toxic printmaking processes, to create this work of art. And she's heavily involved with a group of women eco-artist collectives.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when curating this exhibition?
Well, you can see from the scale of the works included in this exhibition, moving the Ralph Boyer panels from where they were previously installed, which is at the Westport Central Fire Station, was a challenge. And fortunately, we were able to partner with MoCA, with professional art handlers to transport these works of art. Just as a background, these works were first installed in the study hall at Staples High School when it was located on Riverside, today's Saugatuck Elementary School. So the works were completed in 1934. So the building became the middle school in 1958, and the murals somehow ended up in the basement of Greens Farms Elementary School, where they were sat dusty and undisturbed until 1974, when Eve Potts and Molly Donovan rediscovered these forgotten treasures. Together, Eve and Marion founded the WPA Art Rescue Committee to research and raise funds for the conservation of these murals, and along with several other WPA-era artworks, the 4 large paintings were conserved and reinstalled at Westport Central Fire, where they have remained since the 1990s. So this exhibition is a rare opportunity to be able to showcase the 4 original panels plus the 4 smaller panels in a beautiful museum setting.
What inspired the inclusion of the 4 Times in America works in the Learning Gallery? And what reflections do they prompt regarding the motor industry impact on our environment and infrastructure?
The 1950s were pivotal for the automobile industry in America and helped the U.S. become the economic superpower it is today. Big 3, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, benefited from mass production and economies of scale, and through rapid innovation and competition, all 3 were able to champion materials, designs, production methods, and safety concerns. They also mounted intense marketing campaigns, and none more familiar than Ford Motor Company's pocket-sized magazine, 4 Times. So during the 1950s and 60s, 4 Times really became a lifestyle and travel guide to car ownership. The magazine was filled with pictures and articles about unique places to visit and local and natural history and sports and hobbies and regional food recipes. Guest writers included John Steinbeck and E.B. White and many others. And articles were all accompanied by full-color illustrations of original art produced by artists local to the subject matter. So 4 Times artworks are a cultural artifact, but they also allow us to reflect on how the motor industry really shaped our desires and habits, our economy, our policies, and our built and natural environment.
So, Eva, Anne, what's next for you both after On Fire? Are there any upcoming projects or exhibitions you're excited about that continue these critical conversations?
Sure. So this is always a wonderful opportunity to do what we always do, which is to rotate the collections throughout the buildings and schools where they're usually displayed, because we bring them all here to MoCA, and then some of them go back to their original homes, and some of them get mixed up and find new homes and new conversations to stand with. So one idea I would love to take from this is to take some small groupings from the show. So let's say an ecology section or a roads and bridges section, and rotate some of those into our dedicated learning gallery spaces in the schools, where they can support art classes or STEM classes. I know they have climate-focused units.
Yeah, public art collections are really meant to be used by students and scholars and members of the public, that these works are opportunities for deeper academic scholarship, but also enjoyment and inspiration for your own work. We are excited to continue promoting awareness of the Westport Public Art Collections as a resource through access to our collections database, which is available online at westportarts.org.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Eva, so much for coming and being here to answer some of these questions, which not only myself would have, but some of the viewers as well and visitors who have come to see this show. I do have one last thing to ask, or a prompt for you both, which is to ask our viewers questions, if you may, that might spark action regarding the very important topic of on-fire energy, climate, infrastructure.
Looking at the 4 times works has really encouraged me to think deeply about how dependent we are on petroleum-based fuels. I am really inspired to think about ways that we can drive less and get places by walking, by using bicycles, by using public transportation, by carpooling. That there are really lots of ways that are healthier for ourselves and our planet.
So I think the 2 questions I would really ask viewers, either before they come see the exhibition or afterwards. What is an issue regarding these themes, energy, climate, infrastructure, that's impacting your life right now? And what can you do about it? And then the second question is, what is an issue or problem that maybe is not impacting you right now? But maybe you learn about through these artworks or through reading the news or moving around in today's world. And what can you do about that? Whether it's small, whether it's big, some kind of action to make change in this world.
Thank you to the both of you for being here, and thank you to the viewers out there. We hope that you have the time to stop by MoCA CT, located in 19 Newtown Turnpike, Westport, Connecticut, 06880. And see this amazing exhibit, and also browse through some of the books that both Anne and Eva have brought in that interact and communicate with the artworks as well as the theme of the show. In tandem with this exhibit is our 10th annual high school show featuring schools in Connecticut and New York, where students have brilliantly created artworks that resonate with the theme that Westpac has put together for this exhibit. We hope you can stop by. We are open Thursdays 4 to 8, and Fridays to Sundays we are open 12 to 4 p.m.